My stepmother tried to remove me from the inheritance, but failed miserably. I always knew my stepmother disliked me. From the moment she married my father when I was 17, she made no effort to hide her disdain. Maybe it was because I reminded her that she wasn't the first woman in my father's life. Or maybe it was simply because she couldn't manipulate me the way she manipulated him. My mother had passed away from cancer 2 years before Dad met Marlene. She was everything my mother wasn't: flashy, cold, cunning. She swooped in like a vulture, inserting herself into every crevice of our lives. I tolerated her for my father's sake, but I never trusted her. I was in my late 20s when my father passed away suddenly from a heart attack. He had been a healthy man in his early 60s, but stress had weighed on him lately, mostly from business matters, or so he told me. I was devastated. He had been my rock, my mentor, and my best friend. At the funeral, Marlene cried dramatically in front of everyone, but not once did I see a real tear. It was all theater. Her crocodile tears were for the guests, for the cameras, for the sympathy she could manipulate. A week after the funeral, I received a letter from my father's lawyer requesting my presence at the reading of his will. The meeting was at the lawyer's office, an old building with oak-paneled walls and books that looked like they hadn't been opened in decades. I walked in wearing a black suit and a cold expression. Marlene was already seated, dressed in all white, looking more like a bride than a grieving widow. Her son, Kevin, was beside her. He was 23, jobless, and living in the pool house. A smug look danced on his face. Mr. Alcott, the lawyer, began reading the will. My father had clearly prepared everything meticulously. Most of his estate was divided between me and Marlene. She got the house, some investments, and a generous monthly allowance. But I got the lion's share of the business and properties. I should have seen what was coming next. Marlene, without hesitation, challenged the will. She claimed my father had intended to revise it, to remove me entirely because I abused his trust and acted against his wishes. She produced a document, a handwritten note supposedly from my father, stating that he wanted Marlene to inherit everything. It was laughably forged. The handwriting barely resembled Dad's. The wording was stiff, unnatural. It referred to Kevin as my beloved son, when Dad always called him that spoiled brat. Still, Marlene filed the challenge in court. Suddenly, everything froze. The estate was in limbo. My inheritance was suspended. The business assets were locked down. The bank froze my access to the company accounts. I had bills to pay, employees to support. Marlene's move wasn't just a money grab. It was a strategic strike meant to destroy me. I knew I had to act fast. I wasn't going to let her erase me from my father's legacy. My father had been a man of secrets, not in a shady sense, but he valued privacy and foresight. When I was 22, he told me, "Always prepare for the day people try to take what you built." He had taught me everything about the business world, how to structure trust funds, form shell companies, and use ironclad contracts. What Marlene didn't know was that my father had established a private trust 2 years before his death, and I was the sole beneficiary. That trust held the real control of his assets, not the ones she was clawing for. The main will was important, sure, but it wasn't the full picture. He had anticipated something like this. Still, I couldn't reveal that just yet. I had to let Marlene dig her own grave first. So I played along. I acted shaken. I told the press I was shocked by the new document. I even showed up to court looking defeated, all while gathering evidence. I hired a private investigator, not just any guy, but a seasoned forensic document examiner and digital expert named Thomas Ridge. I gave him the alleged note Marlene had submitted. Within days, he proved the paper was bought a week after my father's death. The ink wasn't even dry. And most damning of all, the signature was traced from an old real estate contract. But I didn't stop there. I found her weak spot: Kevin. Kevin was careless, arrogant, and stupid. He posted photos of himself on Instagram with expensive watches, captioned, "Thanks for the new toy, mama," just weeks after the inheritance fight started. I started messaging him a burner account. I posed as a young, wealthy influencer who admired his style. It didn't take long before he was flirting, bragging, and spilling secrets. In a matter of weeks, I had screenshots of him talking about how his mom had totally finessed the will and how the lawyer didn't know what hit him. He even sent me a blurry photo of the forged note with the caption, "Made this in a night, lol." I saved everything. Then I sent it anonymously to Marlene's lawyer and the court. The next time we met in court, her lawyer looked sick. Marlene's smug expression faltered. The judge called for an immediate review. The new will was officially declared a forgery, and Marlene was warned of potential charges. But I wasn't done yet. With the fake document exposed, the original will stood. I regained access to my father's business accounts and property. But I didn't just want to win. I wanted to make sure she never tried this again. I revealed the trust. Not all at once. Piece by piece. I showed how my father had placed all his company shares into the trust, making me not only the sole heir, but the legal owner of the company she had tried to bleed dry. I froze her access to the house utilities, credit cards, and travel expenses, everything she had been using to maintain her lavish lifestyle. Kevin's pool house? Sold. The luxury SUV she drove? Repossessed. I offered her a deal: vacate the house within 30 days, and I wouldn't press charges for fraud. She screamed at me in the courtroom lobby, called me names I won't repeat. But I just smiled. I had won, legally, strategically, thoroughly. But the cherry on top? Weeks later, I visited the house. She was gone, but not quietly. She had tried to damage furniture and steal some paintings. But what she didn't know was that the security system, installed by my father and synced to a cloud backup, had recorded everything. I submitted the footage to the authorities. She was arrested for property damage and theft. Nothing dramatic, but enough for a criminal record. Kevin, now broke and reputation ruined, fled the state. I heard he tried to become a TikTok influencer. It flopped. With them gone, I took a deep breath and walked through the now empty house. My father's office was untouched. His scent lingered faintly: wood, leather, and the faint spice of his favorite cologne. I sat at his desk and pulled open the bottom drawer. Inside was a sealed envelope addressed to me. I opened it. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and Marlene has tried something stupid. I always knew she would. I'm proud of you. Never let people like her win. And remember, real power isn't in the money. It's in knowing how to protect it." I sat back, eyes misty but proud. I had honored him, not just by protecting what he built, but by being the kind of person he raised me to be. A year later, I transformed the company into something better, more transparent, more sustainable, and far more successful than before. Employees who had once feared Marlene's influence now felt safe and empowered. The house became a heritage home and business retreat. As for Marlene, she moved in with a cousin in a tiny town. No more champagne brunches, no more spa weekends, just quiet resentment and the memory of a plan that backfired so spectacularly her name became a cautionary tale. Me? I live with peace and power, not out of revenge, but out of justice. And that's the most satisfying win of all. Like and subscribe. Share if this happened to you or someone you know.